small committee. There are 3 members and another 3 or 4 people who attend the meetings who are part of the biobank team. And it is a subcommittee of the board, so it's advising the board of UK Biobank, particularly on questions of access to the data and samples which Biobank holds in trust for the participants who gave those data and samples to UK Biobank. So that phrase comes from the consent form, which was signed by the people who agreed to participate in UK Biobank. And we are the guardians of the data and samples they have given to the resource. It's simple in one way because it means what it says on the tin, and it doesn't have any deep, devious meanings. It's difficult in the sense that they're not very precise terms. So most of the time, health-related, which is the big one really, health-related means related to health. And if you are working on cardiovascular disease, that's pretty self-evident. Where it gets a bit trickier is in situations particularly where the trait you're studying merges from the medical into the social, non-medical sphere. So, for example, issues to do with race, intelligence, gender, and the ones I've named, unsurprisingly, are the ones that also tend to get public attention. And all of these, studying these in relation to a variety of factors that may influence them, can be perfectly legitimately focused on health outcomes, but it elides into applications which are perfectly reasonable research topics, but they're not really health related. They're more to do with social development and politics and social science and all sorts of other studies. We try, those are the things that we feel we ought not to be allowing access for. And researchers can ask themselves that question. It's not a difficult one to answer. Is your research really focused on an issue which is predominantly related to how people become and remain healthy? And if so, can you just explain that very clearly to us, or perhaps to one of the people who donated their data and samples? Think of a lady, previously a high-flying something or other, intelligent, now in her 70s, not working anymore, given up a lot of time, energy, and privacy to be part of this. Explain to her why this is health related, and if you can do that, we have no problem. Well, firstly, the huge majority of researchers are decent, honest, upstanding people, as you all know, and I'm sure all of you are. And so we have to take a fair bit of this on trust. There are a number of checks that we have and which we take quite seriously. So you're asked to give annual reports, and we do much appreciate it when people return those annual reports promptly, on time, clearly, something sensible on them. We check on people's publications, and we ask you to notify us of publications. Part of the MTA that you signed when you gained access to the data was that if issues arose from some work that you were doing, which you thought might cause some sort of public contention. I don't mean a scientific argument about whether it's good or not. I mean a public argument that would get into the daily newspapers because it's on an eye-catching subject of some sort, or could be represented as that you let us know that in advance. So again, we are not suggesting you shouldn't do such work. We're not trying to censor what you do. We are asking that you stick to the terms of your agreement in terms of the research that you're doing, and that you give us advance notice if something's likely to make a big splash in public, so that we can be ready for it when it happens. An encouraging large number of people from all over the world are increasingly using Biobank, and they're using it because it's a source of data with very good medical information attached to it on a large number of people, And it's available in a way that's being made better and better as more and more people work with it and return their findings to the data resource so that new researchers can pick that up and move from there. And it's used for studying the development of all diseases that you can think of. It's been really interesting over the past few months, since the dreaded virus appeared on the scene, that a vast number of people, really more than I would have imagined, have suddenly appeared on the scene with applications to use UK Biobank, which is beginning to accrue a reasonable amount of information on COVID infections within the participants. And it's being used to trace a number of questions that are fairly obvious in a disease that wasn't there 6 months ago. I suspect that we will be surprised by the imagination of the researchers of the future and what they think they can do with a data set of this size and complexity.